Welcome to Thinner Peace in Menopause and Beyond. This is Dr. Deb Butler, Master Life and Weight Coach, and as always, your coach. Today is episode number 229. Stay tuned. Hello, my dear friends. How are you today? I have another special podcast for you I'm really excited about. And I don't usually do two interviews side by side because last week I interviewed Joy, who ended up living up to her name. Joy. It was so joyful to interview her. But I've got so many people right now that I want you to listen to that I think will inspire you so much as we start moving in to fall. I can hardly believe that. So I actually interviewed another one of my most beloved clients. Her name is Rhonda, and I think she has so much information and inspiration to share that I didn't want you to have to wait to hear her. So before I have you listen to the interview, I want to tell you just a little bit about her, and I want to read you a letter on reflection that she wrote to me before she ended up doing the interview with me. As we started working right before COVID, and, I think for a lot of people, it was a difficult time. And for a lot of people, it was the exact time that they thought either they didn't have the money or they wanted to eat their way through COVID instead of think their way and feel their way through COVID. And with Rhonda, it was exactly the opposite. It was because of COVID and because she wanted to learn more about herself that she actually decided to work with me right as COVID was beginning, which I think is an inspiration for all of you. And before I have you listen to the interview, I would love to read to you a letter that she wrote to me when I asked her if she would like to be a guest on my podcast, because she said to me, well, I don't really think that I'm like all the other ladies that you interviewed. I don't think I'm as successful. And I thought that was fascinating because I think she was amazing. So after we talked about her success and where she's come from, she laughed because she sent me this email, and it was a reflection of where she was 5 weeks into working with me. It's what she wrote. And I think it's so touching that I actually want to read it to you before you actually listen to the interview that I did with her. So this is what she wrote. It's so crazy. Back when I started the plan, I had a hard time imagining myself on the other side. I knew I wanted it more than anything, but I just couldn't see myself like your other successful people. I didn't just want to lose weight. I wanted to gain a life. I knew in my soul that I was eating my feelings and living within my urges, but didn't know how to stop. I knew if I could eat healthfully and stop the nighttime fogging and binging, the weight loss would happen. I knew if I got control of my brain, that good things would happen. I started this during COVID, and I knew if I let myself lose control and go with the urges to eat and drink, I'd be even further along the path and so upset with myself. So I would not let that happen. I had already vowed before starting with you, Dr. Deb, that I was not going to jump on the alcohol train because it would be so easy to do to give myself the excuse of COVID to drink and eat. Everyone joked about gaining the COVID-15 or the COVID-30, and after I started working with you, I had the goal of the COVID-15 or the COVID-30, negative, minus. But for the other way, of course. I was kind of joking, but kind of not. I wanted to put this time of working from home to good use. I reduced my commute by over an hour a day, and so I wanted to put that to good use. It adds time to my day to play, to be outside in the sun, to feel my joy, to have extra time to make myself healthy food instead of easy and quick. I started this to manage my eating and my nighttime fogging, but it became so much more in a very short time. It didn't take you long, only a few weeks, to glean out of me that my alcohol use was worrying me. I wanted to ignore it, but it came out pretty quickly that I couldn't imagine not drinking. I could never have imagined that I could not have alcohol, especially on the weekends. I've done every diet out there, except if they did not allow alcohol, then I wouldn't try them. I didn't want to stop drinking, but I wanted to be in control of it, because if I couldn't control it, then it would be alcoholism. My first Friday night without drinking alcohol, it was wow. I had all these thoughts around alcohol. I needed to drink it to be less shy, more of a fun person, a happier person. People will like me more, etc. And you said something that still cracks me up to this day. You said, wow, alcohol sounds amazing, and it does all these wonderful things. I think everybody should be drinking alcohol. It's so funny because I remember that. And she goes on to say that this whole week has been a week of strong wine, alcohol, fast food, chips, popcorn, cupcakes, others eating it around me, and I just declined. No drama, no upset, no woe is me. I just decided I don't want that stuff. I want to let my body rest. I would say that within the first 4 to 5 weeks, I had stopped nighttime fogging. I was not drinking as much or not at all. I was feeling more joy. I was feeling more hope for the future. And I was getting more play. I was off sugar and flour and having less urges. I cannot believe the changes in just over a month. When I started this, I would not have said I was depressed. I was still happy many times, but there were times when I felt like it would never change. I felt like I had nothing to look forward to. And that's not a life. I have hope and excitement for the future back, and I would never have thought I would be this far. I have lost all of my all or nothing thinking. I would have a few urges in early days and was kind to myself and tell myself I was learning and it's going to happen and keep going. Giving up was not an option. In the past, I would have one slip up and I'd say, that's it. This isn't the plan for me, and I'd be done. But now I just keep going. And Rhonda this is what she wrote 5 weeks into the program in her journal, and she just sent it to me for reflection, for her to see her own successes, because that's where she was like 6 weeks ago, and now it's 6 weeks later, and she's even farther along. And this is what I want you to hear, is this interview of this amazing woman and how she's learned how to manage her mind. So, of course, she says at the bottom of this email, thank you from the bottom of my heart, Dr. Dub. And you know what? From the bottom of my heart, I thank her for letting me work with her. So sit back or enjoy your walk or enjoy your drive and listen to this amazing interview with Rhonda. And when she's done, I'll get back on and say a few words. Hi, Rhonda. Welcome to my podcast.
Hi, Dr. Deb. I'm excited, nervous.
Yeah, me too, a little bit. It is. It's always like this, just a little bit. But once we start rolling, just like in our calls,
yeah,
it always gets easier and easier.
Perfect.
So the way that I always like to ask my first question is, why did you decide to call me and set up a mini session? Because there's a lot of people out there already who might be thinking about it or wondering. And since you've been through the whole process, maybe just tell us a little bit about how it started for you and why you decided to make that first initial contact.
Well, I'd been listening to your podcast for about 8 months. On the way into work, I'd listen. On the way from work, I'd listen. Like, it was about an hour a day total. So I learned a lot of tools, exercise being joy and fun, and I was using them very well. But I was still having issues, not trusting myself with evening eating, and that's initially when I said, okay, I've got to get this under control, because it didn't matter. I'd been dieting, well, since I was about 14. And since last summer, I'd gained maybe 20 pounds doing what I had always done. And being just turned 50, I knew it was probably a perimenopausal issue. And what I was doing isn't working anymore. And
what were you doing? Just out of curiosity.
Weight Watchers, keto, Jenny Craig. I can say almost everything.
Me too, sister.
Almost everything.
Yeah.
And exercising, even though I don't want to, it wasn't bringing much joy to my life, and I wasn't, it wasn't doing, and I was still struggling. Like, nothing ever got rid of that craving to eat at night. And that's really listening to you and trying all the other tools. That was one I couldn't really get under control. And I had a few things happen where I suddenly had a little bit of money, and I was like, okay, what do I want to do? What's the most important thing for me right now? And I'm like, I have to get off this roller coaster. All I want is peace. I don't want the up and down and the worrying about it constantly.
And you think that's what was going on before, is the constant worrying and obsession about eating and what to eat. And
eating and not eating. And I could teach a course on it. And I think a lot of your listeners could teach a course on it also, right? Like, of what's healthy eating. And I could go through a whole day and eat pristinely. And then as soon as after dinner hit, it was, I had no control. That's what I thought. Like, I've learned I have control, but when I called you, I felt like I had no control. And
Okay.
yeah, so that's what I did is I took that money. I said, what's most important to me? And that's what I did is I had my mini session with you.
What made you do the mini session? What made you do I think the mini session is almost harder than deciding to work with me. I don't know, but tell me.
Well, COVID had just started. So I was a few weeks in and I was gaining weight. More than what I'd already gained from the summer. And I'm thinking, this is not going to go well for me if I don't find a way to navigate the feelings of COVID in addition to whatever other feelings I was eating. And that's my mini session, March 26th. So I think that's when it was. I finally had a chance to chat with you and decided very quickly that I think I signed up that afternoon. And even though, I was a single mom and just didn't, finances can be a struggle for anyone, but I wanted to invest that in myself at that time, for sure.
Wow. And that is a big step, just making yourself, that just it's like, I'm not even sure I really realized that. But to realize that was probably the best step was to decide that you were important enough to yourself.
Yes.
To make that investment in yourself.
Yes, because that money would have went to anybody else, any other time. It wouldn't have been me first. And that after talking to you, I had to put myself first.
Wow. Okay. So let me ask you this, because this, I know goes this for a lot of people, is I know that when I talk about things and when people are going to make a decision about working with me or not, that investment in themselves is such an important issue. And it's like, I think as a woman, we're really used to using money for other people and don't have as much problem, even if it's a more high price, to spend it on somebody that we love, who we think it would really help, but we're more hesitant to do the exact same thing for ourselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
No. And so it's like, I'm so touched for you that in that moment in time that you decided, because I think when you decided that you were worth that investment, I also think that you decided that you're going to do whatever it takes to. Tell me where I'm wrong.
Yeah. No, I did. And that's why I wanted to work with you, because the podcast, there was no accountability for me. I could say, I'm going to do this, and I didn't have you to talk to. Mm-hmm. I wasn't perfect. No one ever is through this journey. But
none of us are.
But having you to talk to, and the journaling and the models, I learned a lot. About myself. That's
right. So the main reason, then, it sounds like, once you made the investment in yourself, the thing that really was bothering you the most was that what happened at nighttime.
That's what bothered me the most when we started, and it went
exactly
so much more. It's not.
I know, but what I find so fascinating is how quickly you changed that around for you. Like in our first couple sessions, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Because that's what you said. That's really what you were working on, and was being able to feel like you were in control, and you felt like you were in control during the day, but you did not feel like you were in control at night.
Exactly. And I thought it would take 12 weeks to take care of that. Like, I was so in it. I thought it would take 12 weeks to get out of that. And I think first or second session, I'm like, it's not an issue.
I know. I remember. Yeah. I'm going like, what?
Yeah.
So what changed for you that quickly? That was such a quick change.
It was the way I talked to myself, my brain, my thoughts. Because originally it was like, I have no control. I can't control this. That's the narrative I was telling myself every single night. Mm-hmm. And then you helped me see that really my thoughts are my control. They really are. And once I took that control and didn't just leave it out to some entity, my mind, I learned to feel it. Like, this whole way, I never felt things. I would try to eat them. So I just had to deal with some discomfort and just white knuckle it. Not really even. It seemed like it at first, but after you don't give in, it gets easier. It does get easier. And so within a couple of weeks, it wasn't even an issue. So we were able to work on other things that I didn't even realize were an issue.
Which is a very important thing to bring up, because a lot of people, when they're coming into this, they think it's one thing. Mm-hmm. And then usually under that one thing are layers of other things.
Yes.
So we start talking about weight loss and we end up in your life.
Absolutely. Like childhood and things you haven't thought of in 20 years. I can see how that, by bearing that, it's affecting me now.
Which brings me back, because now my memory is coming back to that. So once you did the nighttime eating, which was really just changing your mind into believing you were in control, because it wasn't so much, because I think it's really important for people to hear, because I know you started doing some different things at night that you hadn't done before, like I think playing the guitar.
Yeah, I got into things that brought me joy other than food. And that's really something I tried to do. So got back into the guitar, and
that was second session. That was our second session.
Yeah.
I remember you telling me that. And the thing that I want to impart to people when they hear that is I don't think you were trying to find a way to distract yourself.
No, I was trying to find joy again in my life with things that other than food, and which isn't joyful at the end of the day when you beat yourself up over it. So,
which is amazing. Yeah. It really is amazing, because I think a lot of people try to change what they do when they still believe the same things about themselves. Yeah. Like if you really believe that you weren't in control, but you're just not going to eat.
Oh, you're going to fight. Yeah. Yeah. And this was no fight. This was, what other things do I love to do? Sewing, playing guitar. I just started doing that in the evenings because I enjoyed it, and I didn't want to eat. Not just trying to distract myself.
Everybody listen to this. I mean, this is it's revolutionary because of the way that you went about it, because you changed your thinking first.
Yeah.
That's why it's so revolutionary. And that's why, because to this day, evening is not a problem, correct?
No, it's not a problem. It's not a problem.
No big deal.
After dinner, it's done. Dinner's done. That's it. I'm not saying I never ever have a snack, but I'm making the choice to do it. Not like I feel I've got this gremlin in my head making me do it.
Beautiful. So the next thing that we uncovered, which I think is really important for people to hear about, was drinking and alcohol.
Yeah. And I knew that I could overdo it sometimes. And even doing diet plans, if the diet plan didn't allow for a drink or two or wine, I didn't do it. Like I tried every plan except the plans that didn't let you drink. So I would plan for my points with, having a drink at night. And even though I wasn't drinking every night, and I thought it wasn't a problem when I started with you. For me, I'm like, it's not a problem.
It was just the weekend. You said you just decided. I think what you told me, it was just on the weekend, and you had so much you were going to drink, and you were going to do it on the weekend.
Yeah.
Something like that. That was your deal.
That was fine. Yeah, that's no problem. Fine. That's no problem for me. Mm-hmm. And even then, it's not like I would think the drinking's not a problem.
Right.
But once we started journaling and I could look at my food and look at my mood.
Yeah.
It would depress me for a day or two. Like
after you had drinking?
After I drank, if I drank maybe as opposed to one would be fine, but 2 or 3, it would give me the blues. It really would. And I'd never really examined that before. Mm-hmm. So that was good to see. Mm-hmm. And then when I said, okay, you know what, Dr. Deb, for the next 2 weeks, I'm not drinking at all. And let's just see how it goes.
And you came up with that once you started realizing that it really wasn't working for you, but you really weren't looking at it. And I think we also went over some models and thinking about your partner and why you were drinking.
Yes. And that brought up so many things.
Because yeah. Okay. It's all coming back.
You cracked me up because I said to you, well, I have to drink when I go to social situations because it makes me, more fun and more talkative because I'm pretty shy, more talkative, and I can dance and I And you're like, wow, drinking sounds amazing. I think everyone should drink if it makes you such a great person. And you really crack me up because I never thought about it like that. It's like I always thought I had to drink to feel more comfortable, or I had to drink and it would make me more popular. And that started back at 15. That's not something you pick up in your 40s. Mm-hmm. So it really made me laugh at myself because I'd never thought about it that way. And then with my partner, when I wasn't drinking, suddenly I was irritated. And it wasn't irritated because I didn't get to drink. I'm like, why am I irritated? He's an adult. He's having 1 or 2 drinks. It's his, but I had to
all
talk
coming
to
back to me.
Yeah. And you had to tell me, like, why is this bothering you so much? Like, let him do him and you do you. And it really stemmed back to childhood. And I had a father who was a drinker, a weekend drinker, and we wouldn't see him, maybe for the weekend. Mm-hmm. And I think it made me very fearful to be with a partner, worrying, is he going to become my dad? And am I going to feel unsafe? You brought that up. I did not put that together. And
you brought it. No, I didn't bring it up.
Yeah.
You brought it up. You started going back into your past.
Yeah.
And telling me things.
Yeah.
And you thought that you were reporting facts to me about your past.
Yeah.
Right? When you were reporting a lot of thoughts that you still had about your past that was actually interfering with your relationship with your partner now surrounding alcohol.
It was. I would get so irritated and just not want to talk to him for the rest of the night. And he's not doing anything wrong. He's
drinking alcohol, and your brain starts taking you into places and creating old thoughts for you that you had never really addressed. And you were bringing your thinking from your past about your dad and using those exact same thoughts and bringing them into your present moment as if they were facts.
Absolutely. And I think that was session 3 or 4. And you had me do some models. To try to change what I'm thinking when he does that. Because he's given me no indication that he would ever be like that. He's never been like that.
But you were acting as if he was, even when he wasn't, because your mind was taking you someplace else instead of the present moment.
Exactly. So once I did the new models, and it bothers me, not at all. Like, he'll have a drink, he'll ask me if I want one, and I'm, no, thank you. Because another thing, I'd always think that, well, he met me and I was a drinker, so I've got to keep drinking, to be sociable with him. And I had to change that. So he'll have, if he has something, I'll have sparkling water. Not that I never have wine, but I don't, it's not something I feel that I need to have.
That's what's really changed, because your thing was, I don't drink during the week. I think when we started, it's like, well, I don't drink during the week. I only drink on the weekends, every weekend, all the time, blah, blah, that thing. And now you don't have any of that same stuff. You can go through the weekend and you either take it or leave it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Can you go to a social situation without drinking?
Yes. I take my little sparkling waters and my nice wine glass and my lime and my lemon, and I make it look like I'm having a fancy drink. But
are you any fun or anything? I mean, like, without it? I mean, like, or do you stay in the corner all by yourself? Because
no, I might start a little bit that way, but eventually I do ease up and just become chatty.
But you can connect to people without it, right? Yes, you are who you are with or without it. Yeah.
And it's better because I maybe do things in the past that I would be like, oh, did I really do that?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to become the party girl or the girl that drinks too much, and it's happened and I didn't want that. I don't want that reputation. I want to be able to drink when I want to drink and not when I don't want to.
Yeah, and I think even more than a reputation, because when we think of a reputation, we think outside of ourselves, what other people are thinking about us, right? And that's why you wanted to drink, is because you were looking outside of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest change for you is that you are inside now and you're reflecting and doing what's right for you and listening.
Yeah.
And
It
that's
wasn't
why
for
I think it's made it easier for you to be able to take or leave alcohol. But you can tell me where I'm wrong.
No, and that's because I'm curious about
I
things
like that.
now.
Uh-huh.
Curious. I don't just drink because that's what I do. It's how does it affect me? And I'm learning more and more. It affects my sleep that night. It affects my day the next day. And it does affect weight loss, because when I had my good 2 weeks there with no drinking, didn't I lose 5 pounds? I lost 5 pounds in that 1 week or 2 weeks. And then as soon as I introduced, on the weekends, I'm like, oh, I'm stalled again. So, it does, my body, obviously it impacts my body. Maybe other people it doesn't, but I'm learning for me it does.
Right. And when you become curious, I mean, you could get pissed off and upset and say, well, enough of that. I'm just going to drink and I'm just going to, or whatever.
Yeah.
But
Oh, yeah.
but when that's a really beautiful thing for you to point out for people who are listening about how many times you say, I became curious. Because
Yes.
I think that is probably one of the highlights of working with you is how you uh, were able to bring in curiosity as a feeling
Yeah.
for so much of the work as opposed to punishment.
And I used to punish myself
Well, I
all the
know,
time.
I know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
know. You stopped that pretty quickly too.
Well, I
I mean, you
did.
really did.
I did. And even the weeks, like the scale always scared me. And you've done a lot of podcasts on the scale.
Yeah.
And there was a time where I was pristine. Like I had a pristine week and I hopped on the scale, like so excited, like so, so, so excited. And I gained a pound. So it's even worse than not losing, was to gain. And I'm like, how did I gain? I did nothing. And I literally just started crying. But
That
that
was
was
one
a
of our
good,
calls, wasn't it?
that was after I told you
Right
about that.
after we had the call, right after you told me,
Yeah.
because you brought yourself back before you got on the phone with me. Now that I'm
Yeah.
remembering,
Yeah.
so talk
So
about that.
that's it. So like before, so in the past, if that had happened in the past, that's exactly what I would have said. I'm done. That's it. Doesn't work for me. What's the point? And I would have went and binged, and I would have binged for a month or two. And I wouldn't have gotten ahead. This time I let myself feel the feelings instead of getting mad and binging. I let myself feel the feelings. I had a little cry, a little like mini cry.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, that's good. I felt the feelings. And then I just went downstairs and had an orange, like I didn't binge. I didn't let it ruin my day, my week, my month. And I said, okay, there's something going on here that's not about just the food, because it was an amazing week. And that's when you said maybe I should be looking more at hormones, and the mind body chart really showed that as well, because there was sleep issues and hormonal issues and libido issues. There was just so many issues that you can't just say it's only the food.
Well, that's what we wanted to find out, right? So
Yeah.
that's why we put it. So for people who don't know what our mind body chart is, it's a chart where once we decide what you're going to be eating, and for you, we took flour and sugar out,
Yeah.
and we tested it to see how it affected your moods, how it affected your energy, how it affected your cravings, how it affected many different things about you. And one of the things that we noticed is that it affected a lot of things in a very
Yes.
positive way for you. Like a lot of your numbers got really strong.
Yes.
But what started happening is your weight started leveling off, your libido stayed kind of low, and your sleep stayed kind of low. So that's how we found out, because sometimes you can change what you eat and it'll help all of that, hormones or
Exactly.
whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes it helps balance it. But for you, we found out that it's got to be something else. And the beauty of the mind body chart is that it brought it out because you changed your eating.
Yeah.
And you cleaned it up. So if that was a problem, we would have seen it go up, because so many other things did go up for you.
Yes. Yes, they did. Pain levels and joy, like all that was really high. I'm really happy.
Compassion, your mood, your energy, your ability to manage your own mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was all going so well. And I'm like, why am I still not sleeping? Or why is the libido still affected? And so it is hormones, I'm sure. And the drinking and the eating, it's a combination. So
yeah. So it's like for you, I mean, you were such a beautiful person to work with, because number one, as people can probably see talking to you, you have a very calm, loving energy about you.
Thank you.
Always, always, always. This isn't new. This has been there since day one. But it is, what I see is that you have used it as we've continued to work to help yourself. Like you never got very, I think, very dramatic. Some people get very dramatic when they don't lose weight. And for you, when your weight started stalling and your libido didn't start moving and your sleep issues were what they were, it didn't stop you.
No.
And this is the reason, the main reason why I wanted you on this podcast, was because I wanted you to share with people that you were curious enough to realize that even if the weight stalled and these things were being affected, that there has to be another way to work it without you going back to your old ways of being binging or drinking or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I just want you to say a little bit about that, because a lot of people in this stage of life have those issues and decide not to take care of themselves, not to eat like, well, if it's not going to work, why should I eat right? Why should I do anything if I'm not going to lose weight or if I'm still not going to sleep? So I want you to just, that's why I want to end this podcast, is how you decided in your mind that no matter what, you were still going to do the things that you needed to do to take care of yourself and then go forward from there. If you would just say something.
I just knew that I couldn't keep doing what I had been doing. And I'd made such great progress in my nighttime eating. Like if I gave it all up, why would I do that? I had to keep, that was one of my things, is I'm going to do it no matter what. I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep going, and I'm going to find out what's going on. And I guarantee you it's going to happen. Like if I see you in a year, it's going to happen. I'm not stopping.
And I know that.
And I knew that. So it was never, I was kind to myself. I
know that. I want everybody to really hear that it didn't change anything. It's just that it's something for me to figure out. You didn't use it as any type of, I mean, we would all love to lose the weight. We'd all love to sleep. But instead of getting pissed off, I'm telling you, I have so many of us that end up drama queens about this stuff. Oh, it's menopause and it's this. But instead, there's always a way to figure it out. And the only way you can figure out is with a mindset like you have, which is curiosity and self-compassion. It is something that needs to be figured out and can be figured out. Yeah. And from talking to you and hearing you, I have no doubt that you will figure it out, because you already have the thought that you will. Yeah. And what we all know about the model is if we think, I will figure this out, the result will reflect.
I figure it out. Yeah.
It will.
Yeah.
So I guess in these last few minutes, I would just like you to tell people, if you were telling somebody else about, what would be the benefit of doing a mini session or working with me, what would you say to somebody about your experience?
Well, I would say that it's truly, truly life-changing. Like everyone says that, and it's not about the weight, because I've learned so much about myself. And honestly, that's why I don't get so stressed out, because it's not about the weight. It's about what I'm learning about myself. Being curious, like I said, being curious every day. Like, why am I acting this way? And a lot of times it can be past, it can be food. And I'm just learning, and I do models, and how do I want to think? And
you do the work, don't you?
I do the work, and I don't want to be just reactionary. I want to figure it out. And it's just, you taught me that. And I think that's something you're going to take for life. You're going to take that with you for life. It's not till the diet's over. And that's why it's been so worthwhile. And that's why it's still worthwhile. I'm still working at, not, even though my weight's not doing what I want it to do necessarily. And it's just worth it. You're worth it. People are worth it. They're worthy, and it's important. And I want an amazing 30 years ahead of me and not regret.
And would you say that everything that you've learned up until now, you will just continue to work with, and that's why this will be the last time for you, because of the changes and the work that you've done?
Yes. And that's why I'm so adamant that if you see me in a year, it'll be more figured out. No, nothing's ever perfect and no one ever gets, to perfection, but it will happen. It will happen. And that's why I'm not stressing out about it.
Beautiful. Well, it was so good to have you here again. And I hope everybody got to feel this beautiful, loving, calm energy from you. And to take from you, you make it sound in a way so easy because so many people have problems with nighttime eating and alcohol. And you realize it's not really about putting it in your mouth. It's really what you're putting in your head.
Absolutely. And
thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you, Dr. Deb.
Thank you. Well, everybody, I know she's amazing. She has the most beautiful, calm energy. And I think probably that's the way she's always been, but I don't think it's the way she felt on the inside. And now what I know for Rhonda is that her insides match her outsides. That's what I want for you too. That's why I'm doing this group right now. This class that I've been doing with my individual program, I've now offered it to a group, and it will be opening up again soon in the middle of September. And I want you guys to be aware of it because the stuff Rhonda talks about is available to you too. Because of the coaching and the tools that I teach in my program, it's available individually and it will be available in my group again when it opens up in September. So please, 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 whatever else you do in the next week, I want you to do two things for me. Not just one, two. Number one, if you haven't reviewed this podcast yet and you're loving it and you've been listening to it for a long time, please go to iTunes and review. And if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And the second thing I want you to do, as always, is exactly what Rhonda talked about and exhibits every day in her life. Please, please, please be very, very kind to yourself. And I'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
I would like to invite you to correspond with Dr. Deborah. Go to iTunes, drdebbutler.com/iTunes. And you can review the show, and you can even give some helpful suggestions on what you would like to talk about in the future to accomplish your mindfulness and your journey into mindfulness. Thank you.